I think the big questions are ones to do with outside the Earth. I think the Earth is such a small thing and we're always concentrating on it, but there's so much more, so much more far away. All that stuff in other galaxies, all this antimatter and stuff about, all that life on other planets. There's so much more outside of our Earth that we haven't found out about yet.
But the main theory we're taught in science is the Big Bang Theory. But we're not told that the Big Bang Theory is absolute gospel truth, and that the religious theories are wrong, but that we're taught that in science this is correct, if that makes sense.
Some Muslims would argue, wrongly in my view, that all scientific knowledge is written somewhere in the Quran. And since the Quran is the word of God, then basically anything God wanted us to know about that he thought was worthwhile us knowing, he'd have put in the Quran. And so they go and look within the words of the Quran and find phrases where they say, oh, see, that's where he says the Big Bang happened, or that's where Einstein's theories are described. And of course the Quran was never meant to be used in that way. It's a book telling people, over 1 billion people, how to lead their lives and telling them to go out and question God's creation.
Well, I don't think they get along very well together, but they're separate in a way. That at school we taught them separately, the creation of the world is taught in science as the Big Bang Theory, and in RE as the 7 days that God created the world. And so they're not taught together, and they're very different to each other.
My name is Dennis Alexander, and I've been 40 years now in the biological research community. Had a wonderful time doing research. Science is great fun. I recommend it to everybody. And what I found throughout all that work really is that evolution gives us the best explanation for why things are the way they are. Why are cells the way they are? Why are different species the way they are, and so forth. And I've just discovered that evolution gives you, if you like, a map that is a coherent map. It's a map that helps you get around the world of biology and make sense of it. I've never seen evolution as at all contradictory to my own faith in God, because I simply see God's creative work as being shown in all the various things that we study as scientists. So what I as a Christian think about when I think about as creation is the fact that God brings everything into existence, and he holds everything into existence, and so he's like the author of a book who creates the book and brings it into being. So all we can do as scientists is to study the book of creation. We can study the book that God has brought into being and indeed continues to write. So that's our job as scientists. So I see no reason at all why that should be in any way contradictory to belief in God. After all, if you have a book, then presumably it has an author.
When it comes to something like the theory of evolution, much of the Christian world has had this debate ongoing for over 100 years. And much of the Christian world now is perfectly happy in assimilating ideas about evolution into their spiritual beliefs. They have no problem with it. That hasn't happened yet in the Muslim world. There are very few Muslims who are at that stage in reconciling Darwinian evolution with Islam. And I say it hasn't happened yet because I anticipate that it will be happening, and it's already starting to happen.